So, folks, we have to talk about what happened in Minneapolis today. Now, for those of you who don't know, I live in Minneapolis, and I actually live relatively close, like a handful of blocks away from the Annunciation Church/school that was the target of a mass shooting earlier today, in which 2 children were killed, 17 other people were injured, including children and teachers, and it left me shaken, to say the least. And I mean, I do have to say, part of the reason is because this is a mass shooting that, in relatively short order, people were reporting that the shooter is or was a trans woman. And it's, well, I don't really think I have to explain how that fact alone, on top of the human tragedy of the shooting itself, has sweeping ramifications for a lot of people in this country, specifically LGBTQ people. And so we have to talk about this. What happened? Well, earlier this morning, the shooter in an all-black stormed the Annunciation Church, where people were praying, and opened fire. Many people were injured. Children, I believe an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, were killed at the scene. The shooter eventually, as police were responding, took their own life. This is where we now get into some of the other facts about the shooting, because what you have seen, if you've been paying attention to conservative media over the last 24 hours, or even sub 24 hours, is every single major conservative influencer has been talking about this as crazy trans people, and it goes from, you know, your Matt Walsh all the way to your Laura Loomer, and it goes up even higher than that. Members of the Trump administration, and including the First Lady, Melania Trump. The tragic mass killing in Minnesota illuminates the need for preemptive intervention in identifying potential school shooters. Early warning signs are often evident, with many individuals exhibiting concerning behaviors and making violent threats online prior to their actions. To prevent future tragedies, it is crucial we look into behavioral threat assessments across all levels of society, beginning in our homes, extending through school districts, and of course, social media platforms. Being aware of these warning signs and acting quickly can save lives and make American communities safer. And part of the reason why I'm troubled by this statement in particular is that I feel like it indicates where the Trump administration wants to go with this. And that is, I think, for a lot of, especially trans people in this country right now, who have been the target of relentless attacks from this administration and relentless policy changes specifically designed to screw us over, right? We're scared. We're scared. And for good reason, too. Back in 2023, this is the last time a trans person did a mass shooting. Donald Trump put out a statement that read, "Upon my inauguration, I will direct the FDA to convene an independent outside panel to investigate whether transgender hormone treatments and ideology increase the risk of extreme depression, aggression, and even violence." I think most of us already know the answer. This is going to be like one of those things that is going to be used as a pretext either to send in the National Guard to Minnesota to occupy Minneapolis, or to suspend protections for trans people, to end different medical avenues that trans people have access to currently. And it's really, really scary. And that being said, one thing you may not have heard from any coverage on this shooter is that, well, she was a Nazi. And I'm not just saying, like, oh, she was bad and did violence so that so like she was a, you know, just she was bad and therefore a Nazi. No, I mean like an actual honest to God Nazi. In like the 4chan nothing matters, like nihilistic, putting other mass shooters on a pedestal goddamn type of Nazi. Okay? And when I say that, what evidence do I have to back that up? Well, she had a YouTube channel, okay? And on that YouTube channel, she shows images and pictures of her guns. She shows the different decorations she has put on these weapons. And here is one, just one small zoom-in screenshot here. This is the loss meme. And if you have been on the internet for, I don't know, the last 20 years or so, you'll understand what this is. It's a reference to infamous online comic strip. You'll notice on a lot of her weapons that there are references to Columbine and other mass shooters. Robert Bowers, I think you can see in that one, who was the Tree of Life synagogue shooter. And like, it's just none of this. It is the epitome of nihilism. It is the epitome of like Nazi, you know, just covered in like weird little memes and references to other mass shooters like Anders Breivik, who killed like over 100 people in his attacks. That's the Terrorgram collective symbol right next to the meme. Yep. And I was just getting to that, right? So on the weapons, there's a symbol that is a reference to Terrorgram, which is a set of Telegram chats designed to basically have Nazis hype each other up to do acts of mass violence and terror. They all just sit around circle jerking about how cool it would be to do a mass shooting until one of them does it. And then they go, hell yeah. And then they continue to try and hype up other people to do this. But like, they're just constant references to different mass shooters. And I want to pull some eyes to this particular piece from a local KSTP eyewitness news station that did some actual good reporting here. Yeah, Robin Westman posted a manifesto. I've read that manifesto, and I can tell you guys, you don't need to read the manifesto. Most of it is just like, yeah, you guys are probably going to hate me for doing this, but I'm really depressed, and I think I might have cancer, and, you know, I've just always kind of wanted to do a mass shooting, and, yeah, I understand if you guys all hate me. Sorry if it inconveniences you. I just want to do this. And then just has the audacity at the end to like be like, oh, and by the way, one of my sisters, you should get over yourself and make up with mom. And it's just like the audacity of this bitch. And one of the interesting things here is that you can also, there was a brief window earlier today where you could access her YouTube channel where she posted videos of all these things, right? And in those videos that people had access to, she dropped racial slurs. She, I mean, like, she shows different weapons that have references to the Holocaust and, like, pro-Hitler messages. She also had, like, the names of, like, other mass shooters, like Dylan Roof, and, like, just, this is someone who was worshipping mass shooters. Yeah, the Parkland shooter. She wrote an entire journal planning all of this in Cyrillic. Elliot Rogers is on there. Yep. And this is just some testimony from someone who was briefly friends with her in grade school. 5 Investigates sat down with Josefina Sanchez, a former classmate of Westman, who said Westman had few friends and some odd obsessions. She said she attended grade school with Robin in St. Paul, who then went by Robert. Looking back, she says she now sees some red flags. I knew that something was off, but I was a kid. How was I to know what to do? Sanchez said. In 7th grade, Sanchez said she struck up a friendship with the boy she knew as Robert Westman, but that friendship was short-lived after some unusual behavior. When you see something erratic, it doesn't leave your mind. So he would put up his hand and praise Hitler, Sanchez said. So, again, when we're talking about, like, she was a Nazi. Literally a Nazi. Not like, oh, she's really bad. Oh, she aligns with mass shoot. No, like she was actually a Nazi. Like a Hitler praising Nazi. Holocaust supporting Nazi. Okay? So when people are talking about, oh man, the far left trans ideology pushed this shooter to do violence. No. That is absolutely not what happened here at all. Anyone who is trying to feed you that garbage is just straight up lying to you. Okay? They're just straight up lying to you. Also, you want to know something? And I'm just throwing this out there because it was some interesting facts to learn as I dug into this story for this segment, and that is the shooter's mother worked at the school. The shooter graduated from this school back in 2017, and her mother worked there for like from 2016 to like 2022 or so. And also, would it surprise you to learn that this person's like immediate family members, her uncle, is a conservative lawmaker, or was a conservative lawmaker in Kentucky. Bob Hellringer is his name, and he was Kentucky House of Representatives, Republican. This is someone who grew up in a Republican conservative household, who internalized those ideas and like radicalized farther right. This is a conservative and honestly kind of the end product of nihilist conservatism. And so I have to say, especially because I know some of you guys who watch me are local to Minneapolis and Minnesota in general. If you are trans and you live around here, please be careful. Because the people who are watching and consuming information about this story are only receiving the side of it that's, oh, they're trans, they must be all like that. Because in the minds of conservatives, the only thing that defines a trans person is the transness. The idea that a trans person could be trans and a Nazi, or trans and a conservative, or that does not compute. Okay? They hear that's a trans person. Trans people did this. They're the devil. Okay? They are going to spin this nonstop. I remember last time there was a trans person who did a mass shooting. They did not stop talking about it for months. Okay? And that was when Donald Trump was out of power. So I am begging you, if you are a trans person, especially if you are in Minneapolis, and I know that we have a sizable trans population here, please be careful. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of the time of day. Be aware of the people you associate with. And please be safe. Hey, Bobby C. Double J. Cis people have done a lot more shootings, though. You know, like if you're gonna be like, oh well, trans people do a lot. Cis people do most of the shootings, like 99.9% of the shootings. So like, you gotta reckon with that fact before you start talking about like mass shootings and like trans people. Okay. Weirdly enough, we don't go around calling every white cis dude a mass shooter. Crazy, I know. So don't even start with that shit. The far more important aspect to this is that the mass shooter in this case was a goddamn Nazi. Nazis do a disproportionate amount of killing in the United States because they're goddamn Nazis. Another fun fact, not that it matters to those who will use this to hate harder, but we make up 0.8% of the population and commit 0.1% of mass shootings. Cis people have done almost 3,000, trans people 3. Yeah. So, anyway, please be careful. Shortly after Trump's inauguration here in Minneapolis, there were 2 trans women who were beaten while waiting at a bus stop. Just be aware of your surroundings and be safe. travel with other people who can have your back. And please, please, please be careful. It's really, really important to me that you guys keep yourselves safe. Wouldn't rule out she might have also been transphobic. Well, yeah. No, like, absolutely. Like, I'm sorry. Trans Nazis, and especially trans people who exhibit the nihilism that this person did. And I know, because I watched and looked at a bunch of the material from Robin Westman. Okay? I looked at a lot of the stuff that she posted. And one, very unwell mentally. And two, I'm sorry, one does not get into, putting Anders Breivik on a pedestal while being just very pro-LGBTQ rights. Okay? Like, these are people who specifically wanted to kill people who were in favor of LGBTQ rights. She worshipped people who hated people like her. So understand that, like, to whatever extent the nihilistic and hateful communities that she ran in accepted her, they hated those categories of people writ large. Kind of like how Nazis had gay people, like Ernst Röhm, in the Nazi movement until it became convenient for them to remove them. A convenient attack dog to be removed at convenience. And so this is not a new phenomenon. This is unfortunately old, and is unfortunately going to play out with extremely negative consequences for trans people across the country. So, not just in Minneapolis, but like especially in Minneapolis, keep yourselves safe, all right? All the media is misgendering her and showing pics of a young boy too. Yeah, I mean, it's really bizarre. Like, even somewhat leftist outlets like have been misgendering the shooter. And, like, that's not a hill that I'm gonna be willing to die on here, but, like, it is interesting to see how different outlets are reporting on this, to say the least. Yeah, you got... This is one of the reasons, by the way, that I keep telling you guys, get to know other people in your community, get to know your neighbors, because you need to know who in your community is safe to be around, and who has your back. I think it is, again... in any way you guys can, seek to correct the narrative on this. This is not a trans person does a mass shooting story. This is a Nazi does a mass shooting story. And the fact that people are trying to sidestep that very central, very blindingly obvious premise is... they're doing it on purpose. They're doing it on purpose. How do I get to know my neighbors when I'm an introverted dummy who works on her computer all day? Bake some cookies. Bake some cookies and, like, go next door and be like, hey, I baked too many cookies. Would you like some? Like, or do the goddamn, like, can you spare a cup of sugar routine? Like, put yourself out there. Might be a little weird at first, but, like, get to talking. Strike up a conversation. And honestly, how they react to being offered cookies or, like, providing a cup of sugar, that's going to tell you a lot about your neighbors. And maybe it won't work out, but then you learned something about them, Yeah, say hello. Ask them, about their day. Or people like cookies, it's true. And if they don't like your cookies, or the type of cookies you made, be like, oh, what kind of cookies do you like? And then bake those cookies next time. And also, some of you are taking me way too literally when I say get to know your neighbors. Because your neighbors is a larger category than just the people who live immediately next to you. Okay? Your neighbors can be bigger than that. Maybe it's the person who lives 2 doors away from you, or 3 doors away from you, or in your building, or something like that. Don't take me quite as literally as some of you are. The people in your community. Yes, exactly, Spencer Skater. Jack, we're all autistic. And that's why I'm being very, very specific. Also, get to know your local Dems, especially if you're trans. Yes, go to your local Democratic meetings. Go to your local DSA meetings. Go to your local Working Families meetings. Go to your local soup kitchen. Whatever group you can attach yourself to and get to know and, like, have fun doing an activity together. Maybe it's a knitting group. Maybe it's a reading group or a book club. Go do those things, because that like incorporates you into a community, and that helps you to get to know other people with similar interests who likewise can have your back if things go south. Okay? Yeah, Food Not Bombs, another excellent group to get involved with. So all I'm saying is building up that sense of community, it does a lot to keep you safe as an individual. Yeah, join a D&D group. Figure out something you can do in person that puts you in community with other people. Yeah, libraries often have great postings about groups that are getting together locally. You know, again, your local Dems are going to have groups you can join. Your local DSA is going to have groups you can join. These are organizations that have pre-made groups for you to join. Dragonfly writes, I know people through my local Dems who I could go to their house if I needed help and their doors would be open for me, no questions asked. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, especially if you are interested in maybe self-defense, consider joining your local John Brown Gun Club or like, SRA. Like, there are all kinds of groups you can join and become a part of, and it will increase your safety and ground you in community. And both of those things will keep you safe in very different ways. Doesn't need to be yeah, it absolutely does not need to be firearm self-defense. Join, like, if you ever find yourselves an open and friendly jujitsu gym, okay? If you've ever met those beefy dudes that do jujitsu, they're just excited that other people want to learn jujitsu. And you want to know something? They're the kinds of ride or die folks who will have your back regardless of what happens. Join your local gym and like go to exercise classes or something. Like, people at gyms often also want to have your back, you know? But you got to feel it out first. Is it a cool gym? Is it a cool jujitsu like studio? Got to figure that out. Yeah, judo clubs are usually kind of chill. Yep. Yeah, judo does have way less injuries. Also, similarly, a lot of beefy dudes who will come to your defense. I want to learn some self-defense, but I'm disabled. Anyone in chat have advice? Oof, I do not have good advice on that. I'm sorry. I wish I did. Anyway, do these things. If you guys need help joining your local Dems, join our Discord, !Discord. Join the Discord, reach out to Dragonfly. She will be happy to help set you up with your local Democrats. And if you want to join your local DSA, similarly, !Discord, join the Discord and reach out to Gamergy, and she will be more than happy to put you in contact with your local DSA, or even help you start your own branch of DSA. Because you can do that, you know? And that's pretty cool. Both very friendly, very happy to help you. And I think that we need to start doing this more and more, not just, again, for the political utility, but also for bare bones safety reasons. So keep yourselves safe, keep pushing politics further to the left, and get involved in these groups.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather around. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the scenes. Politics, dating, flame more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.